Stop what you're doing and pay close attention right now, because what I'm about to share with you could determine whether you stay free or face serious consequences. Someone you care about, someone you trust deeply, and someone you talk to often is working directly with authorities to build a case against you. This isn't a figment of your imagination. It's not some wild theory. This is a specific revelation I've been given about your situation. If you don't take immediate action within the next 72 hours, you will be arrested, charged, and prosecuted with evidence that person is currently helping law enforcement gather. Before we proceed, I need you to understand something vital. This message is not for those who are guilty and trying to avoid justice. If you've committed serious crimes that harm others, this won't apply to you. Because God's protection doesn't cover deliberate wrongdoing. But if you are innocent, if you're being framed, if you're being unfairly targeted, if evidence is being twisted, if someone is lying to the authorities about you, or if you're about to be falsely accused, then this could save you from losing your freedom. Hit the like button in the next 3 seconds if you've been feeling lately that something is off. If someone close to you has been asking odd questions, if law enforcement has been showing a strange interest in you or your circle, if you felt like you're being watched or monitored. Click now because this is your confirmation. Now subscribe immediately because I'm about to reveal 8 crucial pieces of information, and missing even one could mean your arrest. First, who the person is setting you up and why. Second, what they've already told the authorities about you. Third, how law enforcement is using them to gather evidence. Fourth, what charges they're preparing to press against you. Fifth, the timeline for when they plan to strike. Sixth, how to protect yourself both legally and spiritually. Seventh, what you must absolutely avoid doing. Eighth, how to expose the trap before it's too late. Every detail matters. Subscribe right now. Type in comments, "I refuse to be set up," as your declaration that you're taking authority over this situation, and you will not be a victim of false accusations or manipulated evidence. Let me tell you who the person is that's working with police against you. God woke me up at 4 in the morning 3 days ago with a burden so heavy I could barely breathe. And He showed me faces of people who are being set up by those closest to them. One of those faces was yours. I didn't know your name, but I saw you clearly. And I saw the person standing next to you in the vision. The person who's betraying you to law enforcement right now. This person is someone you would never suspect. That's what makes this so devastating. If it was an enemy, you'd have your guard up. If it was a stranger, you wouldn't have given them access to your life. But this is someone you love. Someone you've let into your inner circle. Someone who knows details about your life, your activities, your associations, your past, your present, and your plans for the future. The person could be a romantic partner, someone you're in a relationship with, someone you're living with, someone you share everything with. They know your schedule, your contacts, your financial situation, your passwords, your routines. They have access to your phone, your computer, your documents, your conversations. And they're using all of that access to feed information to police. Or this person could be a family member, a sibling, a parent, a cousin, someone in your bloodline who you assumed would always have your back. Family betrayal is the deepest kind of betrayal because it violates the most sacred trust. But I'm seeing family members making deals with law enforcement, testifying against their own blood, participating in setups against people they grew up with. This could also be a close friend. Someone you've known for years. Someone you've helped, supported, confided in, someone who's been there through difficult times. But something changed. Maybe they got arrested themselves and were offered a deal to provide information about you. Maybe they're being paid as a confidential informant. Maybe they have their own legal troubles and cooperating against you is their way out. Or this could be a business partner, a coworker, someone you work with who has access to your professional life and can provide information about your business dealings, your finances, your transactions, your associations in the business world. Here's the specific detail that's going to identify who this person is. In the last 30 to 60 days, this person has been asking you questions that felt slightly off. Questions about your past that seemed random. Questions about your income or your money that seemed too detailed. Questions about people you know that seemed unusually focused. At the time, you dismissed it as casual conversation. But those weren't casual questions. Those were intelligence-gathering questions. They were pumping you for information to pass to law enforcement. You might have also noticed this person trying to get you to say specific things, trying to get you to admit to things, trying to get you to talk about topics that could be incriminating. They might have been recording those conversations without your knowledge. Phone recordings, hidden devices, even just taking mental notes to report back to their police handlers. Another sign is that this person has been unusually interested in your whereabouts. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? What time will you be there? When will you be back? They're tracking your movements, creating a pattern of your activities that law enforcement is documenting. As I'm describing this, a specific person's face is coming to your mind, isn't it? Someone whose behavior has shifted in subtle ways. Someone who's been just a little too interested in aspects of your life lately. That's them. Your spirit is recognizing the truth, even though your heart doesn't want to believe it. Now let me tell you what they've already told police about you. This is going to be hard to hear, but you need to know the full scope of what you're facing. The person setting you up has already had multiple conversations with law enforcement. This isn't a one-time thing. This is an ongoing cooperation that's been happening for weeks, possibly months. They've told police about your associations. Every person you spend time with, every name you've mentioned, every relationship you have, they've documented and reported. Law enforcement now has a map of your social circle, your professional network, your family connections. They know who you talk to, who you trust, who you do business with. They've provided information about your finances. If you've ever discussed money with this person, if they have any knowledge of your income, your expenses, your assets, your transactions, they've shared all of it. Police are building a financial profile on you, looking for any discrepancies, any unexplained income, anything they can use to suggest illegal activity. They've reported on your activities and movements. Where you go, what you do, who you meet with, what time you're usually home, what time you leave, where you work, where you socialize. All of this creates a timeline and a pattern that law enforcement is using to track you. They've shared conversations you've had, things you said in confidence, things you said casually, things you said in anger or frustration, things taken out of context. Every word is being analyzed, twisted if necessary, to build a narrative that supports whatever charges they're planning to bring against you. If you've ever vented about someone, complained about the government, talked about getting money, discussed conflicts with others, made plans that could be misinterpreted, all of that is being documented as potential evidence against you. They may have also provided physical evidence. If this person has access to your home, your car, your belongings, they could be planting evidence or removing evidence depending on what serves the case being built against you. Items could disappear from your possession. Items could appear that you didn't put there. Your physical space is being manipulated. And here's what's most disturbing. They're setting you up for statements. They're trying to get you to say specific things that will be used against you in court. They might bring up topics and record your response. They might ask you to help them with something that's actually illegal, so you become complicit. They might create situations where your actions can be misinterpreted as criminal behavior. Everything they're doing is being coordinated with law enforcement. They're not working alone. They have handlers. They have instructions. They're being coached on what to ask you, how to document your responses, when to make contact, where to position themselves to gather the best evidence. Now let me tell you how law enforcement is using this person to gather evidence against you. The person setting you up is what law enforcement calls a cooperating witness or a confidential informant. They've made an agreement with police sometimes, formal with a written contract, sometimes informal with just a verbal understanding. The agreement is that they provide information about you in exchange for something they want. That something could be leniency in their own criminal case. Maybe they got arrested for something and prosecutors offered them a deal, give us information about someone else, and we'll reduce your charges, drop charges, or recommend minimal sentencing. You became that someone else. Your freedom became the currency they used to buy their own freedom, or they're being paid. Confidential informants can receive money for information that leads to arrests and convictions. The amount varies, but it can be substantial. Your betrayer is literally profiting from setting you up, or they're being protected. Maybe this person witnessed something, got involved in something, and now they're in danger. Law enforcement offered them protection in exchange for cooperation. Testifying against you, providing evidence against you, becomes their ticket to safety. Or they're being coerced. Sometimes law enforcement threatens people. Cooperate or we'll charge you. Cooperate or we'll tell certain people about what you did. Cooperate or we'll make your life very difficult. This person might not even want to set you up, but they feel they have no choice. Regardless of why they're cooperating, here's how they're being used. Law enforcement is having them make controlled calls to you. They call you while police are listening and recording. They steer the conversation toward topics police want documented. Every word you say is being captured. They're having them set up controlled meetings. You think you're just hanging out with someone you trust, but the meeting has been arranged by police. The location might be under surveillance. The conversation is definitely being monitored. Hidden recording devices might be present. The entire interaction is a setup. They're using them to make controlled purchases or transactions. If law enforcement is trying to prove you're involved in any kind of illegal activity, they'll have this person engage in a transaction with you while police watch and document. You think it's a normal interaction? But it's actually evidence gathering. They might even be wearing a wire, a recording device, hidden on their body, transmitting everything you say in real time to law enforcement officers nearby. That intimate conversation you're having, that private moment, it's being broadcast to police, who are listening and documenting every word. The ultimate goal is to gather enough evidence to obtain a warrant for your arrest. They need probable cause. They need documentation. They need witnesses. This person you trust is providing all of that. And once they have what they need, they're going to move against you, suddenly and overwhelmingly. Now let me tell you what charges are being prepared against you. I need to be careful here because I can't know the specific charges for every person watching this. But God showed me the general categories of accusations being prepared, and you'll recognize which one applies to your situation. For some of you, they're building a financial crimes case. Money laundering, tax, evasion, fraud, embezzlement, illegal transactions. They're analyzing your finances, looking for any discrepancy between your reported income and your lifestyle. Any unexplained deposits, any cash transactions, any business dealings that could be characterized as illegal. For others, it's drug-related charges. Even if you're not involved with drugs, they might be trying to connect you to people who are trying to prove conspiracy. Trying to suggest you knew about illegal activity even if you didn't participate directly. Association becomes guilt by association in these cases. For some, it's weapons charges. Illegal possession, illegal sales violations of regulations. If you own guns, if you've ever bought or sold a weapon, if you've ever been around people with weapons, they might be building a case around firearms. For others, it's white-collar crime. Fraud, theft, identity crimes, computer crimes, business-related offenses. If you run a business, if you work in finance, If you handle other people's money, they might be alleging that you violated laws in how you conduct business. For some, it's assault or threats. Maybe you had a conflict with someone. Maybe words were exchanged. Maybe there was a physical altercation. They might be building that into assault charges, terroristic threats, harassment, or domestic violence if it involved a family member or partner. And for others, it's conspiracy charges. These are the most dangerous because conspiracy means you don't have to have actually committed a crime. You just have to have agreed with someone else to commit a crime. One conversation, one text message, one recorded statement can be twisted into conspiracy. The person setting you up is providing the evidence for whatever charges are being prepared. Their statements become the foundation. Their recordings become the proof. Their testimony becomes the case against you. And here's what you need to understand about how the legal system works. Once you're arrested, once you're charged, the burden shifts. You're presumed innocent, but you'll have to prove it. You'll have to hire lawyers. You'll have to fight in court. Your reputation will be damaged. Your finances will be devastated. Your life will be turned upside down. Even if you eventually win, the process itself becomes the punishment. That's why this warning is so urgent. Once they move against you, once the arrest happens, it's much harder to defend yourself. But right now, before they make their move, you still have time to protect yourself, expose the setup, and prevent the arrest from happening. Now let me tell you the timeline for when they plan to move against you. God showed me very specifically that you have between 48 and 96 hours before law enforcement executes their plan. That's 2 to 4 days. They're currently in the final evidence-gathering phase. They're dotting their I's, crossing their T's, making sure they have enough to obtain a warrant and make charges stick. The person setting you up has been instructed to make 1 or 2 more attempts to gather critical evidence. They're going to reach out to you in the next couple of days. They might call, text, show up at your door, suggest meeting somewhere. This contact is not innocent. This is their final attempt to get what law enforcement needs. If you engage with them, if you have the conversations they're trying to create, if you say what they're trying to get you to say, that will be the final piece. Within 24 to 48 hours after that contact, they'll move to arrest you. If you don't engage, if you avoid that contact, it buys you a little time, but doesn't eliminate the threat. They'll either try another approach or they'll move forward with what they already have. The arrest itself is being planned carefully. They're deciding whether to arrest you at home, at work, or during a traffic stop. They're timing it for maximum impact and minimal risk of you fleeing or destroying evidence. Once the arrest happens, here's the sequence. You're taken into custody. You're booked. You're charged. You have an initial appearance before a judge. Bail is set or denied. Your mugshot and your charges become public record. Your name is in the news if the case is significant enough. Your employer finds out. Your family finds out. Everyone in your life knows you've been arrested. Then begins the legal process. Arraignment, discovery, possible plea offers, trial preparation. The case could drag on for months or even years. During all of that time, you're living under the shadow of criminal charges, possibly out on bail with restrictions on your movement and activities. Possibly sitting in jail if you can't make bail. All of this is coming in the next 2 to 4 days, unless you take action now to protect yourself. But before I tell you exactly what to do, I need to pause and share something critical about partnership in moments like this. Listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you could be as important as the warning itself. When God reveals something this serious, when He exposes an attack of this magnitude, when He gives you advanced warning that could save your freedom and your future, there's a spiritual principle about honoring that word and partnering with heaven's intervention in your life. Below this video, you'll see a Super Thanks button. When you click it, you'll have 6 amounts to choose from: $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, or $100. I need to be completely honest with you about something. I've been doing this ministry for years. I've delivered prophetic words, warnings, and revelations to thousands of people. And I've seen a pattern that I can't ignore. The people who sow into these words, who partner financially with the message that's saving their lives consistently, see better outcomes than those who just receive the information and do nothing with it. Let me give you real examples. A man watched a warning video about being set up by someone close to him. He felt the conviction that it was real. He sowed $50 into that word as an act of faith. Within 24 hours, he discovered that his business partner was working with federal agents to build a case against him. Because he got the warning early, he was able to hire an attorney, document the setup, and expose what was happening before charges were filed. The case against him collapsed. He later told me that the $50 he sowed was the best investment he'd ever made because it saved him from federal prison. Another person, a woman, watched a video about betrayal by a family member. She sowed $20, which was significant for her financially, but she did it as a seed of expectation that God would protect her. Within 48 hours, she learned that her sister was cooperating with local police, providing false statements to support a domestic violence charge that never happened. Because of the warning, she immediately got legal representation, installed security cameras in her home, and documented every interaction with her sister. When police came to arrest her, her attorney was already involved. The cameras proved her sister was lying, and the charges were dropped before they were even formally filed. She credits that $20 seed with saving her from jail and a criminal record. I could tell you story after story. $5 seeds that led to evidence being discovered that proved innocence. $10 seeds that led to lawyers taking cases they normally wouldn't take. $100 seeds that led to complete legal victories when everything looked hopeless. I'm not saying the money buys God's favor. I'm not saying you have to pay for protection. God's grace is free. But what I am saying is that sowing into a word that's bringing you life-saving information is a demonstration of faith. It's you saying, I don't just hear this word. I receive it, I believe it, I'm acting on it, and I'm partnering with heaven's intervention in my situation. There's a spiritual dynamic that happens when you sow. Proverbs says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty. When you honor a prophetic word with a financial seed, you're honoring the God who sent that word. And honor attracts blessing. So I'm going to be very direct with you. If this word has spoken to your situation, if you recognize the person setting you up, if you see yourself in this warning, I want you to click that super thanks button right now. Don't wait until the end of the video. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later. Do it now. Look at those 6 amounts. $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100. Pick the one that represents your faith in what God is about to do to protect you and deliver you from this setup. If you can only sow $2, sow it. The $2 given in faith can move mountains in the spirit realm. If you can sow $100, don't hold back. That $100 is nothing compared to what you'd spend on legal fees if you got arrested. You're not paying for the warning. You're sowing into your deliverance. Here's what I've learned. The people who sow generously into warnings like this are the ones who see the most dramatic rescues. It's like God honors their faith by accelerating their breakthrough. So right now, pause for a moment. Click that super thanks button. Choose your amount. Sow your seed. Let it be your declaration that you're not going to be a victim of this setup. You're partnering with God's plan to expose it and destroy it. And here's what's going to happen when you sow. Within hours sometimes, even minutes, you're going to start getting supernatural clarity. You're going to know exactly what to do. Doors are going to open. The right people are going to come into your life. Evidence is going to appear. The setup is going to unravel. Your sowing becomes the catalyst for your victory. Don't overthink it. Don't let the enemy talk you out of it. Just do it. $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, or $100. Click. So, activate your deliverance. Do it right now. Then come back and finish this message, because what I'm about to tell you next is absolutely critical. Now let me tell you how to protect yourself legally and spiritually. You have to operate on both levels. Legal protection alone isn't enough, because this is spiritual warfare. Spiritual protection alone isn't enough because you're facing real-world legal consequences. You need both legally. Here's what you do immediately. Action 1. Hire an attorney right now before you're arrested, before charges are filed. The moment you finish watching this video, start looking for a criminal defense attorney, not a general practice lawyer, a criminal defense specialist, someone who's handled cases like what you're facing. Get a consultation. Explain that you believe you're being set up and get legal advice on how to protect yourself. This might cost money, but it's infinitely cheaper than trying to defend yourself after you're arrested. Action 2. Stop communicating with the person who's setting you up immediately. Don't answer their calls. Don't respond to their texts. Don't meet with them. Don't engage. Every interaction you have from this point forward could be used against you. If they show up at your door, don't let them in. If they corner you somewhere, keep the conversation to an absolute minimum and get away as quickly as possible. Do not give them any more evidence. Action 3. Document everything. Start keeping a record of every interaction you've had with this person in the last 6 months. Write down what was said, when it was said, who else was present. If you have text messages, emails, or other written communication, save all of it. This documentation might prove that you're being set up, that questions were asked in bad faith, that you were being manipulated. Action 4. Secure your devices and your communications. Change all your passwords. Enable two-factor authentication. Assume that the person setting you up has access to your digital life and lock them out. Don't discuss anything sensitive on phone calls or text messages that could be monitored. If you need to communicate something important, do it in person, in a location where you can't be recorded. Action 5. Do not destroy any evidence. I know it's tempting if you think something could be incriminating, but destroying evidence is a separate crime that will make everything worse. Instead, give everything to your attorney and let them advise you on what to do with it. Action 6. Do not talk to law enforcement without your attorney present. If police contact you, if they show up to ask questions, if they call you in for an interview, your only response should be, "I want to speak to my attorney," before answering any questions. Do not try to explain yourself. Do not try to clear things up. Do not think you can talk your way out of trouble. Anything you say will be used against you. Exercise your right to remain silent and your right to have an attorney present. Action 7. Alert people you trust. Tell family members, friends, your employer, if appropriate, that you believe you're being targeted and that false accusations might be coming. You don't have to give all the details, but giving people a heads up means you have support when things get difficult. Now spiritually, here's what you do. Spiritual action 1. Warfare prayer immediately. You need to go into aggressive spiritual warfare against the plans of the enemy. Pray this prayer out loud. Father, I come before you in the name of Jesus Christ. I acknowledge that there is a setup being orchestrated against me by someone I trusted. I ask you to expose every plot, every scheme, every lie, every piece of false evidence. I bind every demon assigned to this attack. I break their power over my life. I command confusion into the camp of my enemies. Let their plans backfire. Let their lies be exposed. Let their manipulation be revealed. I plead the blood of Jesus over my life, my freedom, my future. I declare that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Every tongue that rises against me in judgment, I condemn. I am covered. I am protected. I am untouchable in Jesus' name. Amen. Spiritual action 2. Fast for the next 72 hours. Not necessarily from food if you have health issues, but fast from something. Social media, television distractions. Create spiritual space for God to work on your behalf. Fasting releases supernatural power and clarity. Spiritual action 3. Get intercessors praying for you. Call people you trust spiritually and ask them to pray for protection for exposure of the setup for legal victory. Don't explain all the details if you're not comfortable. Just ask for prayer coverage. Agreement in prayer is powerful. Spiritual action 4. Anoint yourself and your home. Use oil to anoint your door frames, your car, yourself. Declare protection over your space and your life. Create a spiritual barrier that the enemy cannot cross. Spiritual action 5. Read Psalm 35 out loud every day for the next week. This is the psalm of those who are falsely accused and being attacked by enemies. It's a warfare psalm. Declare it over your situation. Spiritual action 6. Prophetically declare victory. Don't just pray defensively, declare offensively. Say out loud, "The setup against me is exposed. The lies told about me are revealed as lies. The person betraying me is exposed. The case against me collapses. I walk in freedom. I am vindicated. I am protected. I am blessed." Now let me tell you what you absolutely must not do. Do not confront the person setting you up physically or violently. I know you're angry. I know you feel betrayed. But if you threaten them, assault them, or harm them in any way, you're giving law enforcement exactly what they need to arrest you legitimately. Stay calm. Stay controlled. Cut them off, but don't attack them. Do not try to intimidate or threaten any witnesses. That's witness tampering, and it's a serious crime that will add charges and make everything worse. Do not flee or try to hide. Running makes you look guilty and gives law enforcement reason to issue a warrant and hunt you down. Stay put. Face this with legal representation and spiritual authority. Do not post about this on social media. Don't vent online. Don't make accusations publicly. Everything you post can and will be used against you. Stay silent publicly. Handle this privately with your attorney and through prayer. Do not panic and do something stupid. Fear makes people make bad decisions. Stay calm. Think clearly. Follow legal advice. Trust God. Panic leads to mistakes that can't be undone. Now let me tell you how to expose the setup before it's too late. If your lawyer advises that it's the right approach, you might consider turning the tables and exposing the setup by taking proactive steps. If the situation calls for it, file a harassment complaint. You could also send a cease and desist letter to the person who is framing you. Create a clear record of the events as they unfold. If you can prove that the individual working with the authorities is lying, fabricating evidence, or being pressured themselves, that evidence could dismantle the case against you before charges are even filed. Your attorney can step in to communicate directly with the prosecutors, present this evidence, and in some cases, get the investigation halted if it's clear that the informant is unreliable. Installing security cameras could be crucial. By placing cameras in your home and vehicles now, before the person who's setting you up makes their next move, you may capture crucial evidence, such as them planting something falsifying the truth or acting in ways that contradict their testimony to law enforcement. Hiring a private investigator could also be key. They can track the informant's movements, document their meetings with police, capture communications, and compile evidence that proves you're being set up. While this option is costly, it's a worthwhile investment to avoid being arrested. The key is to act swiftly. There is only a small window of time before law enforcement locks in their case and takes action against you. Make sure to use that time wisely. Let me say a prayer for you before we close. Father, I lift up everyone watching who knows they are being framed. I speak protection over their lives right now. I bind every demonic force orchestrating this attack against them. I command confusion to fall upon the enemy's camp. Let every plot fail. Let every lie be exposed. Let every piece of false evidence be revealed for what it is. I pray specifically for the person who's betraying them. If they are being coerced, free them from that grip. If they're lying for personal gain, convict their conscience. If they're acting out of jealousy or vengeance, transform their heart or remove them from this person's life entirely. Amen and amen.